Okay, let's begin.
Well, the AFU began in 2003 after I met Mike Grigsby. Although I suppose you could say it really began in 1953. That's when the first Abingdon film was made. So Mike was a pupil at Abingdon in the 1950s, and Mike made a film called Ut Proficias, which is a motto over the entrance to the school. When he left, he got a job with Granada Television in Manchester, which was a newly set up company. And one of the first things he did there was to direct the camera crew that recorded the first ever film of the Beatles, the only film, in fact, of the Beatles playing at the Cavern. So it's quite a historic document. After that, he made documentaries in every corner of the world, films in Vietnam, films in Northern Ireland, in Alaska, just everywhere, and all with this amazingly unhurried approach, letting people speak for themselves, giving them time and space, and using sound and long shots to create a kind of feeling. And always he had an eye for the people who were unregarded, less seen, less heard, and really built a reputation as one of this country's greatest documentary makers.
Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II is crowned.
Tonight's talk is by Sir William Beveridge.
The security plan in my report is a plan for securing that no one in Britain willing to work while he can is without income sufficient to meet at all times the essential needs of himself and his family.
Dad? Dad? Let the wall dry. Can't even hear me, him. Fast asleep.
The first AFU session was November the 5th, 2003.
I think you've centred and set up a very nice atmosphere. My fear is how you're going to actually make it work in a very short time.
After a couple of months, Mike recruited some experts in camera, sound and editing. That was Jonas, Mikkel and Arvid and Nikolai. They were our first visiting tutors. And that's how we began. 24 students, and they all made documentaries exploring the local area. And above all, I think, trying to capture what Lindsay Anderson, a great English film director, called the poetry of the everyday.
Brian, can you hold this bag a minute, please? Oh, I need about 10 pair. No, I need it from over that way a bit. So I need 10 pair of flaming hands.
My name's Andy. I've just moved to Oxford. I've been here for 4 days now. In 4 days, out of the 4, 3 I've slept very rough. Sneaking on barge boats that are empty and one thing and another, which could get me illegally in a lot of bother, but I mean, it's somewhere dry.
One thing I learned early on is that films have an impact. They can make things happen. One of the first films was about homelessness in Oxford. And after that, a couple of my colleagues at Abingdon approached me with ideas and suggested that we might make films about certain issues. One was about the impact of war and landmines in Cambodia, and the other about Moldova, which is Europe's poorest country, and the sort of challenges that people face there. So that's how those 2 films came about.
Universitatea Cooperativă Comercială, specialitate finanțe și bănci. Finalizat 5 ani de studii. La particulare, adică la oamenii care... Nu lucrăm adică în bază cu firmă, dar lucrăm tot la oameni acasă care au nevoie de... Timpul meu pe care îl petrec, adică la lucru, în câmpul muncii, să începe de la ora 8, ca tare tot până la ora 7, 8 undeva. Asta e lucrul nostru normal, că atunci când asfințești soarele, nu este un grafic anumit sau un plan care trebuie să-l respectăm conform.
Animation came in after a chance encounter. I was showing some films on open day and a parent came up and said, "Why don't you do animation?" And I said, "Well, we don't know anything about it." And she said, "Well, I do. I worked on The Snowman." So, my jaw hit the floor. But that was Joanna Harrison. And she came in and started teaching animation, which brought a new dimension to the film unit and unleashed kind of all manner of craziness.
What's up, Zeb?
Hey, Ziggy. Hey, Zach.
Yo! Yo, check this out, man. I've got a ball for your dog.
Oh, cool.
No way!
A couple of years later, we lucked out again, another parent, another great animator, who lived all of half a mile from the school gates. He was an ex-Larkmead student who was now a multi-award winning animator, worked with Paul McCartney, the legendary Jeff Dunbar. I mean, he'd won the Palme d'Or in Cannes. It was incredible to have somebody like Jeff with us on the team. I suppose the great thing about the professional tutors is that right from the start they've urged everyone to aim for the highest standards. Communicating their passion for filmmaking is something that really mattered. And that's why we make students pitch their ideas to the whole unit. And they have to outline their idea and answer questions that are really trying to test their thinking and make them have a deeper understanding of what their film is trying to say. Mike called this process peeling the onion, gradually getting to the core of an idea. And he just kept asking, what's your film really about? What are you trying to say? So it's always been a process of discovery. We lost Mike in 2013, but we were joined by Rebecca Tolley, who co-directed Mike's last films, Duncan and Colin, who've been with us now for almost a decade. Bronwyn joined us a couple of years ago, and at some point the wheel turned full circle and Matt Copson, who was a member of the AFU as a 13-year-old, came back and tutored the next generation of filmmakers and have all brought their own unique skills and insights. So we've been very lucky. Without the tutors, the AFU wouldn't have lasted 20 minutes, let alone 20 years. Well, of course, things change, and it's right that they do. Everyone who's been part of the unit has shaped it in one way or another. Fiction is now a growing part of the AFU output. We've made music videos, abstract and avant-garde films. So sometime last year, we passed the 200 mark. It's amazing to think we've made more than 200 films in that time. About 5 years ago, we made a big effort really to connect with local schools really close by Abingdon. So Larkmead, Fitzharris, John Mason, St Helens. And we've really enjoyed working with students in those schools who've made some great films, and that's now an ongoing and regular part of our partnership work. I do like to think that documentary and the values that Mike attached to it remains a cornerstone of the AFU. The idea of looking out to learn about the world and at the same time finding out what's inside you. That's what I think the AFU is about. After the first AFU screening, Mike went up on stage and spoke. He quoted that W.B. Yeats line, "Education isn't about filling buckets, it's about lighting fires."